Hey, what's going on? It's Fred, and I'm super happy to be here. And I got to tell you, it's taken me a long time just to get to this point to be able to talk to you about what I call marketing signal architecture. Now, why is this concept so important, and why should you listen to me? Well, a little bit about my background. My name is Fred Smith, and I've been doing this professionally since 1996 in the Marine Corps. I was trained at a very high level in the military, had a secret clearance to learn all of this stuff, and I'm an award-winning Marine, got a meritorious service medal just as a result of that. And to be a sergeant in the Marines, getting out on one tour to get that is totally incredible. Then from there, I went on to scale up several businesses from zero to a few hundred million in the automotive industry on the finance and insurance side. I'm known for doing a lot of automotive sales training and marketing and finance. And then when my wife got super sick, I had to get off the road. I was working with some tier one multinational companies at the time. Pandemic hit, a lot of stuff. But just to make a long story short, I've worked with some of the world's top thought leaders, experts, entrepreneurs, entertainers, you name it. I've been behind the scenes, but now it's time for me to come out and talk about marketing signal architecture. And here's why. When I first stopped traveling back in 2020, the weirdest thing that I could never understand was why is everybody like trying to separate words? In other words, words make the world go round. Now, where you put them, whether it's a blog, whether it's a podcast, whether it's just sales, it's words. So the goal is to really take your words and organize them in a way so that people will find you. People will listen to you. People will work with you. They'll buy from you, right? All of this requires words. But let's take it a step further. Let me turn this off because it's a little bit of a distraction. But it's just like what I want to be able to do with you is actually get you to understand that it all boils down to signals at the end of the day. So if we don't get the signal right, especially now that we're in 2025 and beyond, where words really do matter, especially if you're an expert trying to get mentioned through all of these LLMs and large language models, which are Chat, Perplexity, Gemini, and other ones out there, you got to know what you're doing to actually get mentioned these days. And this is where the market is saying, "Oh, SEO is dead." It's not dead. It's not even close to being dead. Now, maybe some of the traffic has diminished. That's fair. But what I want you to understand, especially going through this whole presentation that I'm gonna do, is to really get the idea that at the end of the day, your words have to be structured in a certain way so that the machines can understand you and the humans can understand you. And this is the first time in human history where we are able to humanize data. That's what's being looked for right now. Your marketer, if they're not talking like that, totally sucks. You should fire them because they're not doing you any service. And I'm very serious about that. I've coached up over 4,000 online marketing agencies. And the problem that I saw, unfortunately, was that some of them were just straight up degenerate gamblers. So you're 100% correct in your assessments. But I'm not here to talk trash about anybody. What I'm here to do is just tell it like it is. Because in this game, you've got to be spot on. Because if you are not number zero, not even number one, you have to be number zero in this game. You're nothing. In other words, large language models are looking for the only answer. So if you are at the zero position, which is what they're looking for, then what that means is you're going to have a higher conversion rate because at this point in time, humans still trust chat more than they do SEO. And quite frankly, there's a lot behind that. And we don't have time to get into all of that today. But what I will tell you is that you're talking to somebody who has worked with some of the world's top thought leaders, experts. I've worked in places where the minimum ad spend is $10 million. Like I said, I'm doing it. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to peel back the curtain because there's a lot of misinformation out there, all the way from I'm seeing crazy ads talking about SEO is dead. It's like, no, there's a little brother that just came along the block and his name is LLM, whether it's Chat, Perplexity, or Gemini or the other ones, that's what's we're here to talk about today. So the name of this is Marketing Signal Architecture for LLM and SEO Optimization, transforming marketing through intelligent systems, signals, and semantic relevance. So what is semantic relevance? Basically, in a nutshell, you have to be a pioneer at this point in time. In other words, you need to be able to truly be you, truly be authentic, truly be unique, truly be real, and your words are going to resonate with a certain audience. So semantic relevance is no more than you having synonymous phrasing, whether it's your unique footprint going out into the marketplace, and it's going to attract your audience. Like when I first got off the road and I have a Facebook group called New Room Collective, I attracted some of the world's top thought leaders and experts, and these are like the mentors of the mentors, and these guys are spending millions per month in ad spend. I'm just like, don't know how I got here, but that's cool. But moving forward in 2025 and beyond, everybody is an expert for real. The guru market is really dead. So either you really have the goods and you're able to help out people, or you're going to fade away. And we're actually starting to see that in real time. So let's go a little bit more into the slides here. And I'm just going to give it to you full blast so that you're able to see the differences. So now you have what's known as traditional marketing versus what I call a signal first approach. Here's the difference. If you aren't really genuinely beginning with the end and you're not really planning and you're just talking and you're just winging it and you haven't done any study and you really haven't had a chance to get out here and actually do surveys and actually test your market to see what they want and need and are also willing to invest in, well, guess what? You're a traditional marketer. Because the only thing you care about is, hey, let me just go ahead and distribute my stuff. And hey, let me just go ahead and distribute my message. The message and signal are two totally separate things. And it's only one-way communication. And that's a problem because in today's market, people want humans on the other side of the communication. And I said that years ago, especially to some of these multinational companies I was working with. I'm just like, guys, there needs to be a face behind the brand. Gone are the days where, and a perfect example of that is actually Elon Musk. He hasn't done one single cent in ad spend, right? But he's been able to move metal through word of mouth, which is totally incredible. And that's the reasons why when he tweets or does something like that, it can genuinely crash a market because he understands the concept of two-way communication. And also, we need to have more customer insight, not less customer insight. And that's what traditional marketers did. And that's the reasons why they were playing checkers. And this is actually beyond chess. This is beyond like 5D chess. This is more like 10D chess because there's a lot of things that you have to think about at the exact same time to be super specific enough to where the large language models look at you and go, that's the expert. Or now today's SEO, there's a whole bunch of technical stuff that I just don't want to get into because this is already technical enough as is. But it's just like, now with today's search engine optimization, you have to structure your data, your content, and your positioning in a certain way to where you are definitely known as the expert, whether it's locally, regionally, nationally, internationally, it doesn't matter. You have to learn how to really draw a straight line and walk it. But in order to draw that line, you have to first plan and just really get strategic about where you're going to put your message so that it lands properly in the right market, especially if it's crowded. You want to be in a crowded market because what's going to happen is your signal is going to be like a flare out in the middle of the ocean with a whole bunch of people needing your help. But because you speak different and you move different, you're going to be able to really capture that market. And that's what we're about. We're about conquesting market at this point in time. And that's why this is what I call the David and Goliath era, where now David can finally beat Goliath because straight up, I've worked with clients who have had their stuff completely broken, but it also served as a blessing in the respect that we could start and just really go into a new era of being able to find people, which is being mentioned on like chat and Gemini and all these other things. So shout out to my clients and friends and partners out there. Super awesome. I love you to death, and we're going to continue to crush. So let's go into the signal first approach. Now what you want to do is you really want to do high level intelligence gathering. You want to be able to have real genuine conversations because gone are the days where you can just cut and paste and swipe and deploy and all of these hacker bros out here doing crazy stuff. Those days are gone for real unless you're really going after a super unsophisticated market, and I don't attract them. So it is what it is. So also customer intent focus is something that I really want to talk about. This is what I learned working behind the scenes in the automotive industry where we would have focus groups, and something as simple as what kind of cup holders that you have is a big deal. I mean, because when you say yes to one thing, that can change the product itself, and to implement it and to actually distribute it and actually, bring it to market sometimes can take tens of millions of dollars. So you've got to have Meaningful conversations, customer intent focus, and early stage market fit. Because what's happening is right now, some of these pioneers are just going too far ahead, and you're not turning around to talk to the people who absolutely are looking for you. The reasons why I've been able to slow down is simply because AI is hitting a plateau right now. And that's what the news is representing. Now, we're not going to go into all of that stuff because I want to do my best to keep this as tight as possible. But what I'm telling you is just that at some point in time, as a pioneer, as a leader in your industry, your field, whatever you're an expert in, you have to turn around and help the people because you are the innovator. There are people who are looking for you. So now you have to slow down and legitimately create bridges for people because now the big search engines are absolutely rewarding people because they're looking for original and unique content. And if you happen to be that person and you genuinely have helped people out, they're especially going to give you play because quite frankly, a lot of people out there suck, especially during 2020 when everybody started getting online just because we were forced to sit down and really think about things in life. This is when a lot of that noise really started. I was already online. I had already had inroads in. I've been doing this professionally since 1996 in the Marine Corps. So I've been around for a good minute. But what about that person who's just like spamming platforms, right? And then they wonder why that they're getting deplatformed or nobody's listening to their message just because they don't know how to properly structure the signal first to make sure that it's going to cut through. That's what we're going to go over in this YouTube channel. So the other thing that we're going to go over again, the signal first mission, shift from a traditional distribution problem to an intelligence gathering mission, focus on driving meaningful conversations and optimizing customer engagement. Said another way, have real conversations, talk to real people, get real feedback, figure out what they will exchange for, and then give it to them. Ta-da! Nobody said that that part had to be hard, but believe it or not, that's the reasons why we have so much confusion in the marketplace because people don't understand that simple pattern. So go back and listen to this over and over and over again. This is a whole bunch of red meat because my selfish interest in as far as going on YouTube and talking about this stuff is the fact that there's a brand new field that's opening up and you got to be a real player to be able to play from a super technical level to really help people out. And I'm telling you right now, the air is rare. And it's such an echo chamber in the marketing industry right now. These guys, some of them don't even know how to do this stuff because it's always been a swipe and deploy versus really thinking through like your planning. And that's what you have to have these days. So I'm going to take it back to a more strategic and administrative level because what happens at that level is I'm able to help my clients and I can help them sort through all of this noise within the signal because there's a lot to this. Okay. I'm doing my best to compress it in a short period of time. I'm doing my best to keep it very simple language because I understand that this stuff can be very complicated. Just in SEO alone, there's about 21 different disciplines. The way my brain works is I had no idea I was doing all 21, right? It wasn't until I'm talking to professionals who have running these large agencies as a consultant. I'm just like, oh, it's that. They're like, how did you see that? I'm just like, well, that's kind of like what I've been doing for a long time. So for me, it's always been intuitive because I think the other secret that nobody's really talking about is that you genuinely have to care about people because what's happening now with AI is that number one, pretty much anybody can use it. Number two, most people don't know how to properly put the stuff in there. And number three, when SEO and all these large language models are looking to connect people because that's what they do and that's how they get paid, then they're using AI to pretty much filter out who is the best who's out there right now, who's producing a top signal. So you're going to have to really play a different way, especially if you're used to just moving any way that you want. And it's like, wow, wow, West. It's like, no, you got to slow that down. And here's the other thing I got to say too. You got to run ads. Like, even if you don't think that they're working, you've got to run ads. There's so much valuable data. You don't have to run a lot depending upon your industry, but you're missing out on valuable data from a pay-per-click viewpoint as far as what you can see every single day. This is single-handedly one of the biggest secrets because people I get all the time, oh, my ads aren't working. No, they're working. The problem is that sometimes you're changing them too much or you're just tracking the wrong metrics. There's a lot of internal things that you can get only from pay to play, which is PPC. Yeah, you know me. You got to do that stuff because what happens is you start getting a lot of valuable insight. It's more of a long ball game SEO has always been long ball to begin with. LLM can be one of the ultimate shortcuts, provided that you structure everything on your site a certain way, you structure your ads a certain way. It's just a lot to it. But at the end of the day, it starts with the signal, hence signal clarity. Okay. Let's continue because I know I can keep talking about this forever. Okay. And there's plenty of other videos I want you to check out on the YouTube channel. So again, let me just jump into this next slide here, okay? So here are the basic types of marketing signals. You've got third-party signals, second-party signals, and first-party signals, okay? There is a big difference as far as how you utilize these signals. It's no differently than you actually shifting in your car, right? There's a lot like at the first-party signals, you got contact level and own, and there's actually, I didn't want to confuse you guys, but there's actually something called zero party signals as well. So we'll go into all of this stuff a little bit more. As a matter of fact, I will probably within the next couple of days or so drop down my answer engine optimization book, because I go into zero party stuff. And also you can go to speedscaling.com and actually opt in and see for yourself through my 6-day course, which is technically 2 weeks, because I drop an email, here it is. I drop an email, here it is. That focuses in on zero party signals. So to keep it amazingly simple, just for the context of what we're doing, because we're running out of time. So first party signals is websites, products, CRMs, emails, and support. Second party signals are employment data, social media activity, community engagement, developer activity. Third party signals are job listings and openings, technographics, which are integrations. Look, I'm going to go into more of this stuff in detail, I promise you. News and events, keyword consumption, and review site activity. So, and again, just to touch on ads and like keyword consumption as far as third-party signals, that's really how I view it. There's a very special way that I do that, and I'll tell you more about that later in some of the next videos. So we're also needing to structure this into architectural pillars. Think of this whole process as an onion. Like you've got layer on top of layer on top of layer on top of layer. Or you can look at it as like you have a bullhorn, right? And you're wanting to speak out. Well, that signal is really concentrated when it's coming out of the bullhorn, but as it gets distance, it starts going wider. This is exactly how you should be structuring your signal right now. We'll go into it. I'm doing my best to hold my tongue, but it's either one or two slides next as far as the concept and the methodology that I'm talking about, because I have to set this up in a way where even if you don't understand quite what I'm saying, I gotta flow. You have to see how I'm flowing, because I have to do this all the time, because there's a lot of movement. If you've ever done any type of day trading, this is beyond like day trading stuff, where I have to be on top of the signal in order to understand exactly how it's moving. Because sometimes what happens is, especially if you're working with the large language models, things move so fast, and sometimes the industry will just shift, that if you aren't able to stop on a dime, change what needs to be changed and stop what's currently running and like do it in a timely fashion, you can get behind really, really fast. So what I tell my clients are, we structure things in a way where we measure twice and we cut once. So again, you're talking about goal-based autonomy, real-time perception, self-optimization. That's what I went to a little bit right now, and also integrated orchestration. And we'll go more into these things, but the whole goal is for you to operate and optimize without constant human oversight. And that's what I'm saying. When you have certain frameworks and processes in place that we do as within our agency in particular, we have more of a strategist agency where we do a lot of that high level planning, because typically I'm helping out other people who have agencies, or I'm helping out people who are mid to large cap businesses between anywhere from 70K up. And if I'm working with small to mid cap, it starts at like maybe 10, the lowest I can go. But my whole point in telling you this is that you have to think like this, like straight up architectural pillars. Doesn't matter where you're at in the game, whether you're crushing it or you're still starting out, like somewhere in between, you have to understand that you're going to have to architect this. It's no different than you being like an architect of a building, right? You get the idea, you sketch it out, you put it in a blueprint, and you may not be able to build the building, right? But at least you know what to look for. And that's the whole purpose and the whole goal of this whole YouTube channel. Even if you're looking at some stuff that I'm doing with other people as far as interviews go, there's a very specific reasons why I've interviewed people, because they're representing different parts of your mindset when it comes to architectural pillars. Because again, the goal here, I'm telling you this, I'm gonna keep saying it over and over again. You're going to have to learn how to humanize the data, period. Like straight up, because there's a lot of stuff out here that now can also counter signals. And if you're moving a different way, you can get banned or you start losing engagement. Like today, Meta just hit me up. It's like, hey, oh my God, you've got this big potential. We're gonna have to add some more security to your Facebook. I'm like, I know. Like it's not my first rodeo with you guys. So my point in saying that though is that when you move a certain way, even if you're starting from scratch, even if you're just really getting into the game, or if you've been doing this a while and your stuff is broken, you're in most cases you're missing architectural pillars, and that's what this whole slide is about. And if you guys have any questions on a lot of this stuff, let me know. If it's significant enough, then I'll go ahead and actually drop another YouTube video. But the whole goal is to really get into the top level, not just psychology. I'm giving you the hardcore technical stuff up front because you still, even with all of this stuff, have to turn the wrench a certain way in order to get the result. So this is why I've been holding my mouth right here. And this is what I call the T-shaped funnel model, because now the way that it works is you have to be omnipresent, meaning that you have to be on all of these different channels. Now, I don't really recommend that depending upon like how competitive your market is, how much your ad budget is, exactly how much work you've already done, how much stuff is already broken in your business, especially when it comes to the marketing and advertising, the promotion and distribution of your messaging. It takes a lot to get to this point where you're really having this T-based layer where you're able to be multi-channel and it's going to hit. This is the reasons why you have to get your signal correct in the first place, because if you don't get your signal correct in the first place, you're just going to be like everybody else out here throwing money and you're wondering why nothing's sticking. There is a certain time when you should go straight out into like Mars but there is a certain time you should be just in core, what I call in core, meaning that your core message is just there. You're only focusing in on a small amount of things until you build it out. I'll give you an example of this. When I was working with one of my clients back in 2014, we actually had for a full year a moratorium on any quote unquote growth. Why? Because we were developing out the product to a point where we increased its quality. And as a result of us increasing that quality, we wind up attracting a whole different audience that just popped up. It was a blue ocean, wind up turning the wrenches a little bit more and just crushing it in that direction. And by the time the competitors came up, they looked like copycats because we were first to market. This is how powerful what I'm telling you really, really is, which is the reason why I stay on the planning and the admin phase, because we have to be able to get this right. It's no different. Okay, so like, let me give you an example. For even my clients right now, I always act as if they're spending a minimum of 10 million a month, even if they're doing organic marketing. Why? Because I've played at that level. And I know if you have a little bit off and you start throwing a lot of money at it, it's just going to be a huge problem and you don't even realize it. So it's one of the reasons why I'm just so adamant about signal clarity, because if you don't have this kind of stuff right now, we need to talk, but you got to be a player though. You got to be somebody who's really serious about turning the wrench and getting the results. And you got to take full responsibility for your actions, because that's what a true expert does. They own it, right? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's mindset, or hey, you need to show up. None of that stuff. I got too much stuff where it's just like step one, do this, step two, do that, step three, do that with checklists. Okay. And if you're trying to do this by yourself, that's wrong as well. You need to have a partner in this venture because you're going to have too many blind spots. So that's about as much as I'm going to go as far as mindset. I'm going to continue to power through this stuff, but you've had a chance to really read this right now. But again, the focus is that we want to nurture market interested buyers through multi-channel engagement. But there is a way that you have to get that signal tight first, so that by the time you do start expanding out into these different channels, it's going to make sense why you're going into that lane. It's going to make sense why you're going into that market. It's going to make sense why this particular piece of content is going to hit better on LinkedIn than it is on Facebook, right? It's all these little subtle nuances that we have to go over, but without proper signal clarity and getting that structure right from the very beginning with the architecture and with this in mind, you're going to be like everybody else out here where you're pretty much gambling, you're throwing stuff up against the wall, hoping that it stick. And then you have all the people out here talking about data, data, data. Cool. I've worked with data for a long time. And I'm sitting here to tell you that at the end of the day, it all still begins with signal, period. If you don't have the signal, none of the stuff is going to work. You're going to wind up being like this degenerate gambler, just trying to hopefully, you're going to be living off of hopium, hoping that something's going to stick. This will stick provided that you stick with it. Okay. Now, depending upon how complicated your offer is, we work on simplifying your messaging, but we only can do that through the proper signals first. But that requires a certain type of relationship. We'll talk about that later. Right now, I just want to keep it moving because I'm almost done. So hopefully I'm not going too fast. I know I've been known to talk really, really fast, but I try to get a lot done in a short period of time. So building the unified data layer is what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to have real-time updates, identity resolution, and predictive modeling. Now, these are totally advanced concepts. I'm not expecting people, if you're just starting out or you're like a mom and pop kind of going, what the heck is he talking about? Like, just let me put it this way. There's a lot of moving parts to getting your signal correct. Okay. My goal and the whole purpose of this channel is to get you to not only be inspired that you can do it, but also realize that if you're a real human, you're absolutely going to crush because you don't necessarily need to know all of this technical stuff. What I wanted to do is because I've had so many clients be like, well, how does it look? Like, what's going on behind the scenes? And we don't know what's going on and blah, 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 blah. Okay, look, this is what's going on. I just the best as I can explain it because things move so fast when now that we have AI in here, you have to understand something, guys. When you're working at the speed and pace that I am, and you're on these guilds and you're talking to people, you're in these special groups, you're in these invite only masterminds, right? It's some real stuff going down. It's technology that practically doesn't even exist or it's little known. Why would I want to give you noise if we're here to talk about signal? So my challenge to you is to maybe see exactly what's missing as far as your signal goes. That's why I said go to my speedscaling.com site, download that, opt in. It's just a 2 week thing, but it's six emails. And that's pretty much going to help you fix your signal. Even if you don't use me, I don't care. What I care about is people winning. That's what's important to me right now at this point in time in my life. I've had enough people in my life winning. And now that like right now I'm in Thailand. I'm one of the most beautiful places, right? Hanging out with my wife. We're doing some amazing stuff, right? Because she actually is from here. So I want to be able to just continually help people all around the world like I used to. But it starts with me getting my signal together. So that's the reasons why I had to slow down because there's a lot to this. Identity resolution itself, we could have a whole like 3 years talking about that because I've been working with identity resolution since like 2021. So what's new to most people is almost like an echo chamber for me. The whole goal is for you to get your signal together. And these are the things that we do. AI agent foundations. I have an expert. She's amazing at this kind of stuff. I'll interview her again because it's time to really update that. And then we have real-time decision making and also adaptive intelligence. Now, adaptive intelligence is something that we can go probably a little bit more into detail with, but we don't have time to go into that right now. I just want to keep it moving, but also the intelligence and execution framework, and we're nearly done. So again, I'm doing my best to just not necessarily rifle through this in as much as just trying to tell you it takes this much conscientious effort and intention just to get your signal correct. So whenever I see some guru or some yo bro talking about, hey, we're going to do this, I'm like, you guys literally have no idea what you're talking about. It takes so much effort just to do one thing and develop it out. I know because I've scaled up several businesses from zero to multi-billion-dollar companies. I know. So it's not something that I'm just sitting here playing with. This is how I eat. You follow me? Now the time has come where everybody can play just like this and they can start from scratch. You can go to Instagram right now. They're anticipating one person creating a $1 billion company. Who knows? It could be me because I literally know how to do it. I've done it before. So it's not like I'm just sitting here playing with it. I've done it several times in my life, for crying out loud. So I'm like, yo, that could be me right now, but I need to focus, right? So again, the intelligence and execution framework is what we're all about right now. The whole goal is to get your AI agents process inputs to make strategic decisions. That the only way that they're going to be able to make those strategic decisions is by getting your signal. It's garbage in, garbage out. I'll say it again. It's garbage in, garbage out. So I'm going to say it a different way. Questions are the answer. If you learn how to ask a very top level question, you're going to get a very top level answer. If you know how to get top level knowledge out of your head, then your AI agents are going to have that level of sophistication as well. Again, exercise works only when you do it. Same thing with AI agents. AI agents won't do all the thinking for you. Like you have to really have all of the stuff dialed in. This is the reasons why people can have a technically perfect funnel, but they're still not converting is because of this stuff right here. Like literally you have to have that intelligence layer mapped out and structured in a certain way so that when you do go to implement it into an AI agent or however you're doing your business, it's going to hit. This is how it works. Okay. I ain't got nothing else after this. All my top level clients know when I go like this, it's like, look, this is all I got. Like, this is straight up all I got. And that's what I'm telling you here. This is straight up all I got. Okay. So you have the intelligence layer, and I briefly went into the execution layer. It can go to email, push notifications, SMS, WhatsApp, carrier pigeon, Abacus. Who cares? That part right there is nothing but going to do. So we go from a knowing problem, which is the intelligence problem, to the execution problem, which is a doing problem. So the purple is a knowing problem. The green is a doing problem. It's your job as a leader to merge all of this stuff together. Hopefully that made sense. We're nearly done. All right. You can tell I really have fun with this. And this is actually one of my favorite slides as well. Semantic SEO optimization, because what people don't realize is that LLM, if you work it right, you can do both at the exact same time on a page. I've proven it. Like I've taken pages that had nothing on them, and they get mentioned because I know how to look at the data properly. And because I know I'm a strategic planner, I know exactly the angles and things of that nature. That's why it's so important for you to understand how semantic SEO optimization works. It's no different than like if you were back in the day learning your timetables, right? I know I ain't gonna tell my age too much, but the way it used to work when I was coming up, right? We had to learn on rote. Like, hey, my teacher would go, "What's 4 times 4?" You have to go 16. What's 9 times 9? 81, right? Like you had to learn the old school way before they gave you a calculator. Okay. And this is exactly what I talked about at the UN earlier this year without the United Nations behind the scenes after I was done with my other speech. And my thing was called "The Calculator is Not the Genius." I'll actually drop it down here since I already talked about it. But yeah, when I was at the UN earlier this year, I'm like, I got people freaking out like over AI, and it's like, guys, like it's nothing but to me like a calculator. It's all in how you use it. And again, it's just one of those things where it's going to take time for most people to understand because they're like, oh, it's AI. I'm just like, AI's been around forever. It's just like it's been around forever. So it's just like it's just now hitting commercial usage. It's no different than like a Formula One race car team, right? That's what they do. They spend all these millions of dollars, and then if something really works, they drop it down to their top line cars, and then it winds up coming down to the base model cars, right? Same thing with information, same thing with data, same thing with SEO, same thing with AI. It's just an evolution. So again, we want things that are topically relevant content, topic outlines. People also ask questions. Stuff is so powerful, y'all. I'm just like, I cannot believe I'm actually going over this stuff. But look, we need people who can actually do this stuff. Okay. There's so much of a blue ocean. It's just good to jam with other people, really trying to help out people. That's why I really get excited about this, is because for the first time in like my life, I can actually say, hey, this is what I seen over here. Has anybody seen this? And they go, yeah, I seen this too. And then we can all like collab, because that's how it works from a very high level in the automotive industry. That's how I grew up. Same thing in the Marines. Like it's all about high speed, low drag, all gas, no brakes. Let's go. Like that's what we do. And that's why I get so excited about this. And if you don't see the excitement in me, channel that, because you need to be super excited about the future, because you got a chance to really get out here and compete with some of these big boys like Amazon. Like, look, if you happen to be a specialist as far as specialized books, Amazon ain't gonna have that. But you go, hey, who is the nearest specialized bookseller in like Thailand, Phuket, wherever, right? It's such and such. Amazon ain't doing that. That means that you cornered the market, like straight up. Like this is why I'm saying you got to think globally and act locally, and that's the reason why I have my other group, which is New Room Collective. We'll talk about that later. But my point is like the world is your oyster right now. This is the first time in human history where you can literally take control of your narrative. It's not as much pay for play with this kind of stuff these days. You got to get ranked. Yeah, you got to be able to get, the LMs to like you, know, like, and trust, but that's what they're doing, because there's people out here now who don't even really hit the internet, right? They got all the AI bots and stuff doing that. But if you aren't properly structuring who you are digitally, this is the reasons why understanding signal clarity is so important, because you got to be on point now, like straight up. If not, you're wasting time, energy, money, and effort, and then you wonder why you're not getting results. And that's what I was telling a lot of these agencies. I'm like, guys, what y'all don't understand is that you're not duplicating your clients well enough online, and that's the reasons why it seems like it's such a gamble. This is the reasons why understanding signal and how it works is so important. This is the reasons why understanding the strategy behind it is so important. That's why I'm literally giving you this right here because I don't see it anywhere else online. So here it is. I know it. It's just like I want other people to know it. And share it, like straight up. Like this is the kind of this is the way that it's working, like period. I don't see, and I had one of my guys hit me up yesterday. I'm just like, look, guys, let me explain something to you. I don't think there's going to be anything more higher right now that I can think of higher than answer engine optimization. And straight up, and see, same thing with SEO. It ain't going to go away, guys. It may morph into something else, but these principles is what I'm trying to teach you. So this is how you hold other people accountable so that you can inspect what you expect. Now, and if they don't know this kind of stuff, then you pretty much know who you're dealing with. So do you want to continue gambling or do you want to really deal with somebody who's an authority? This is demonstrated authority to you. This is what you have to do now. This is the reasons why you have to get online now. This is the reasons why you have to have video now. Like it's here. It ain't going nowhere. You got to get right or get left. It's just that simple. All right. I'm off my soapbox. So let's keep going. We're nearly done. Also, you have to have LLM friendly content structure. I absolutely love this kind of stuff. I'm a word nerd when it comes to this kind of stuff because the difference between you doing it your way versus doing it a traditional accepted way is monumental. This is how you really get clients. This is how you do client acquisition. Even if you're just doing organic marketing, I'm literally handing you a multi-billion-dollar blueprint right here with this one slide. It is that powerful. Okay. I'm telling you, this is what I do. I'm letting you know that this slide is so powerful because when you're trying to do organic marketing, the whole goal is to put structure around what you're saying. So that way you start seeing what works and what doesn't work. That's why you can't wing it. Even when I was doing automotive training as far as the finance and insurance department, we said words a certain way to elicit a certain response. Like we had a whole program for that. It's no different here in SEO, or it's no different here than LLM, or it's no different right here than how people whenever they're typing stuff in. Like it's all the same stuff, guys. It is a signal. I'm trying to get you to understand it's a signal. What I'm handing you right here is the actual template that it takes that you push that signal through. And it is such an ingrained structure that if you don't really understand this, this is why we need to talk because this is how the game is played. It ain't changing. It hasn't changed since I learned it back in 1996. It hasn't changed. So when I see people out here in mystery, I'm just like, there's no need to be in mystery about this kind of stuff unless you just choose to be stupid. Like seriously, no disrespect, but it's just like, look, and I say this to my clients all the time. You got the right to be stupid. Just don't abuse your privilege. You follow me? Because this, when you have a blueprint, it is your fiduciary responsibility to not only put it in place, but also execute on it. And if you happen to have a team, then this is how you can really say, hey, look, this is what it is. Talk to you later. Check in with you next week. Bye. You follow me? It's that simple. We're nearly done. All right. Also, the implementation and ROI impact. This is what I was waiting for: the crawl, walk, run, and then a bonus one, which is marathon. We'll talk about that later. I just want to keep it amazingly simple. Again, crawl is manual validation. You want to validate your hypothesis. That's what we do over at Signal Clarity at first. Even if you're like recalibrating your avatars, you're recalibrating your messaging, you're recalibrating your SEO, you're recalibrating your LL, like it's all recalibration. Okay. So you have to go back to a certain part of manual validation. It could be through surveys, but you still have to have the correct signal in order to ask the right questions. But that all starts with that signal audit that we do, right? And then you have the walk, which is automated engagement. Introduce automation for signal capture while maintaining human oversight for the final touch. Again, I'm going to say it a bazillion times. This is the part where data and humans merge. Your left brain and your right brain merge. You're now a holistic thinker. I bequeath thee as a holistic thinker because that's what it's going to take. Okay. And then you have the run, which is fully automated end to end. And this is where everybody tries to start. And this is the reasons why some people like get this automated software and they still fail, is because they missed these other two steps. And as you can tell, there's sub steps within these steps just to get there. Think of this no differently as like a big jigsaw puzzle. It's your responsibility to put the actual picture out there. The picture needs to be tested and validated. And then once that picture is tested and validated, then you can break it into all these little small chunks, right? And then you put it all together, and then you have the sum of the whole, and boom, you got your signal. Now you can push it whatever you want, and then you can push it out there with confidence, right? Because then, like with me as an example, sometimes if my clients go from learning mode and all of a sudden they start, I was like, okay, Google's telling me we need to spend more money. Let's go. You're like, because that's the way it really works. So everything has its season. That's why it's crawl, walk, run, and also marathon, which I did not put on here. But because that's just like that's some what they call programmatic thinking. That's very like multinational thinking. Totally not necessarily relevant here, but it's relevant enough for me to bring it up. And this is the whole thing right here, ROI, impact, and transformation. You want to transform marketing into an autonomous profit driving engine. You want to be, but you can't make it into an engine if you don't know what those mechanisms looks like that are actually driving the engine. You want to leverage real-time data and intelligent automation. That's the reasons why you have to also have PPC, paid traffic, going at the exact same time, is because you're getting real-time data. Is you're getting the straight signal as live as you can get it within 24 hours after that shifts to GMT. You also want to reduce ad waste through targeted signal-based approaches. This is the other reasons why having paid traffic in relation to your blogs and every other thing. I look at it just as one big symphony, and you're the conductor. You have to know the instruments, you have to know the song, you have to know the sheet music. People have to know what part of the sheet music they're playing on. It's no different. Okay. I'm doing my best to give you some real-time examples because it's not as hard as most people think it is. There's just a lot of subtle nuances to it. My mind is just calibrated for it. Okay. Enhance customer experiences through personalized engagement. Again, this is what people are looking for. It's called VLC, voice of the customer. You want to be able to really, at the end of the day, just say, hey, ask a few high quality questions so that you get the high quality answers, because people really do want to look for you. They do want to find the expert. They do want to find somebody who can really help them out with their problem, like straight up, because that's where we're at right now. Their trust is at an all-time low, and you can be the hero coming in and really helping people because you really got the goods. All right. So we're nearly done. We're done. There it is. That's me. Want to say thank you so much for showing up. It was supposed to be 10 minutes. I don't think I have 10 minutes in me. I just don't. Because what I want to be able to do is really help you understand the complexity of what we're talking about here. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. And that's why I do my best to just walk you through as much as I can, all of those little subtle nuances, because they create that snowball effect. But it starts with the signal. And then just like I talked about with the bullhorn, the megaphone, you're projecting that signal out to where you want it to go and hitting that person in their right season. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm usually supposed to say, hey, check out this next video. I don't know. Check out whichever one you want to check out, because what I'm doing right now is just going straight. So I really do appreciate you. If you listen this far, 40 minutes, 41 minutes, however, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully it was very well invested. And my challenge to you is to actually get out here and test it for yourself. If you need help, I'm here. I want to be able to really help other people get where they need to go, because it is so awesome to just see people winning, especially with the current technology we have. This is the first time in human history where like everybody straight up has a real shot. So much love, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.